Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason and this is another sports edition, St. Louis sports edition, and this is more of a revision of my previous Sportsman's Park episode, which I put out about a year and a half ago. But I'm going to do a little update and tell a little bit differently from what I originally said. So I am at the corner of Grand and Dodier Streets, and this is the site where the World War I, World War II, and baby boomer generations got to see their favorite sports teams, baseball teams that is, play baseball. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you all about it. There's a large historical marker, and hopefully we can walk on the field where the greats once played. If not, I'll try to show you as much as I can. So here we go. All right, so that is Grand Boulevard, and this is the site of, which is now the Boys and Girls Club of Greater St. Louis. Well, Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club. And this is where the St. Louis Cardinals and the St. Louis Browns once played. Well, the site that is. The ball field is just right behind that building. But I'm going to go ahead and show you a huge historical marker that tells so much history about this place. So this was brought up in 1881, and from 1966, May 8th, that is, this was a professional sports field. I mean, it's so bizarre when I visit these places. And it's gone through many different names, but Sportsman's Park is the one that stuck the most. But from 1953 to 1966, as it says up there, it was called Busch Stadium. That was, of course, the year that the St. Louis Browns went to Baltimore, and that was also when Gussie Busch, or Augustus Busch, whichever you prefer, Anheuser-Busch purchased the team. Former greats who played here, and these are not necessarily just Cardinals, but people like Grover Cleveland Alexander, Ken Boyer, Lou Brock, Ty Cobb, Dizzy Dean, Frank Frisch, Lou Gehrig, Bob Gibson, Goose Goslin, Rogers Hornsby, Pepper Martin, Babe Ruth. I know I'm omitting some names, but I just thought I'd kind of make this not a brief one, but more of a to-the-point one. And this is indeed America's oldest ballpark. More Major League Baseball games have been played on this site than any other baseball diamond in America. How about that? And don't forget that many World Series have been played on this field. 1926, of course, was the first year the St. Louis Cardinals had their first World Series run. Also 1928, 1930, 1931, 1934, 1942, 1943, 1944, and 1946 and 1964. Now, what is not mentioned on this marker is that in 1944, the St. Louis Browns and St. Louis Cardinals were both in the World Series. So yes, it was one of 2 or 3 times that the teams that shared the field together were in the World Series. So it was kind of not awkward, but it was definitely a cool part of history in St. Louis. But also, let's not forget, during the early 1940s, or the first half that is, World War II was happening, and that was when a lot of players were fighting overseas. So war and patriotism were other priorities besides sports, but people were still coming to the games around that time. And then all-star games were also played here in 1940, 1948, and 1957. And also down below it says the last home run ever at the stadium was Willie Mays. Last Cardinals home run was done by Mike Shannon, who, by the way, a year ago in 2021, October that is, he retired officially from sports broadcasting. And then the last major league game played here was May 8th, 1966. It was on May 12th, 1966 that a helicopter had delivered home plate to the new baseball stadium downtown St. Louis, which was Busch Stadium 2, or the second. So that's just some history on, sorry, I had to trip on a little rock there, so be careful. But yeah, that's just some history about this legendary ballpark. And now I'm going to go ahead and take you kind of around the building here. All right, so that is the entrance just right over there of the Boys and Girls Clubs of America of Greater St. Louis. And I'm going to ask one of the workers if I can access that field. Here we go. So I did ask a worker, and He respectfully said no, the public was not invited to walk on or take pictures of the field from inside, meaning like going from inside to out to the field. But I was cool with it because I understand this is a private place. But I'm gonna go ahead and go that way. This is, again, the Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club. This is a football field. Now the baseball field is just right over there. I'll show you that. But this is actually where the Cardinals and the Browns played. So over here are some stands, but there were much higher ones where I'm standing, and of course right there where Cardinals and Browns fans eagerly watched their favorite players on this field. And of course it doesn't do it justice because this field is actually split between, there's tennis courts, a basketball court, and a playground just right over there, you know, behind those stands. So, and I really don't want to go close to the road, which is Grand Boulevard, but I hope this kind of gives you an idea of what baseball fields looked like back in the day. So this is Sullivan Street. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of take a walk along this way. And there are no kids out today, as I'm sure most of them went home. But I'm going to go as far as probably where the tennis courts are. So for this, I really got to use my imagination because, you know, home plate was just right over there, probably to where those stands are, or much farther than that. And then this was where third base was, or close. But yeah, it is nice to see it nicely redone for great use, especially helping underprivileged kids. So that's the update on what Sportsman's Park looks like today. So just to the west of the Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club building is this old ball field. Now, when I first did a video for Sportsman's Park, I incorrectly thought this was the field for where the Cardinals and Browns first played, as pointed out by one of my viewers. And I'm glad they did, because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I'm right. And in this case, I was wrong. And we were respectful to each other about it. But I will say this, though. Despite what the sign says over there, on top of that scoreboard, it says, former site of Sportsman's Park, 1867 and 1966. That is not true. I mean, yeah, I mean, Sportsman's Park may have stretched out this far, but I just thought I'd point that out.